I am healing. I am healthy. I am steady. I am stable. This is one of the affirmations Christine uses to ground herself when she feels symptoms increasing. After seeing 13 doctors in 13 weeks, Christine met with a certified vestibular therapist that she feels finally diagnosed her correctly. This is where her journey to healing began. She shares honestly and openly on TikTok and Instagram about her life navigating her dizzy world. Through humor and her wit, she will draw you in and remind you that living with these conditions is tough at times, but finding the humor in your situation and loving on others makes the healing journey one to embrace. Please welcome my friend and fellow VeDA ambassador, that dizzy girl, Christine.
Thank you so much for having me.
Christine, I know a lot of people out there in the community know you as the Dizzy, Triple Z girl on Instagram and on TikTok, but there's a lot of listeners that don't know you. Can you share a little bit about who you are and about your story?
Absolutely. So you can find me at that Dizzy girl on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and hopefully soon YouTube. But I was diagnosed with 3PD or triple PD, as some people call it. I'm not going to say it because I butcher it every time. So it is essentially chronic dizziness brought on by another vestibular disorder or anxiety, panic attacks, that type of thing. So mine was the perfect storm, is what my team called it. And essentially, I had a series of events in my life that were extremely stressful. My nervous system just did not regulate and became so dysregulated that it sent my vestibular system into a tailspin. And here we are.
Were you working at the time?
I was working full time. Well, I am working full time. I work in education, and we had just gone through the whole COVID in-person, online, back and forth. And I was in grad school. I'm a single mom. We had moved. I had just ended a 7-year relationship, which was absolutely gut-wrenching. So a combination of a lot of things, a lot of moving pieces that were the cause of the dysregulation, on top of having chronic sinus issues and eustachian tube dysfunction on my right ear.
Did you experience dizziness in the past or vertigo?
I had, but it was small bouts. Usually if I had a flare up with a sinus infection or something like that, I would have, I'd probably say it was vertigo, small little spurts here and there. And then they would pass and that would be it. But definitely nothing like this, which put me in the bed. I was bedridden. Yeah, it was pretty traumatic. It was extremely crippling. I had to take a leave of absence from work, and being a parent was extremely tough during that time. Trying to find answers. I saw 13 doctors in 13 weeks trying to figure out what was going on. I had medicines thrown at me for Meniere's and vestibular migraines. I was overdosed on amitriptyline. And then, thank goodness, I found my vestibular rehab therapist, and she, along with a neuro team, finally said, we think this is 3PD because of your anxiety and all of the events that have happened.
Right. How did you find your physical therapist?
The first one I found through a recommendation, and this is important because I really want people to understand that educating yourself on what to expect when you go into PT with a vestibular rehab therapist is very important. And I had done that. I went into my first PT appointment. And of course, it's your meet and greet, your, basic info, intake type things. And then I went a couple more times and I knew in my gut that this wasn't the right VRT for me. She specialized in concussions, and I knew that the plan of care that she was providing wasn't going to be what I needed. So I found a new VRT just through the internet, and she is vestibular certified, which is so critical. You have to find somebody who's vestibular certified because not everybody
Mhm.
knows about the vestibular system. And that's when it was a game changer for me.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because there are a lot of vestibular therapists online that are doing remote work. Initially that made me not, I'm not sure how they do that initially, um, but it is imperative. It's so crazy that my first physical therapist that I went to also thought I had a concussion. And I'm like, no, no, nope, nope. I would remember that. And
Yeah.
so she really had no idea what to do with me. So she started with some treatments and which actually ultimately ended up making me worse, which I understand even when you're in the appropriate treatment, sometimes you do get worse before you get better. But yeah, so that's so important. And online, even just social media, there are so many great resources for vestibular therapists.
Yeah,
Does yours
absolutely.
provide online therapy?
Mine does not.
No.
Um, but I do know some really fantastic therapists that are now doing VRT online. One of them
Mm-hmm.
is Amy at Dizzy PT. She's on TikTok. She's
Mm-hmm.
not on Instagram yet. But she is she's in the middle of getting certified in all 50
Mm-hmm.
states. So she can help treat online, which is so fantastic for the people who, I mean, at the beginning of your journey, you're just
Yeah.
knocked out. And so getting
Yeah.
somewhere even can be difficult. So it's gonna be a game changer for a lot of people who need those resources
Mm-hmm.
quick and in-house. The plan of care for BPPV or vestibular migraine or 3PD, they're all very different.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked with my VRT about that because my mom has BPPV. So I went with her to have her EPLI done. Obviously, I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like because I've had it done. But the course of treatment is definitely a lot different. So I wouldn't recommend just going online and kind of creating your own plan of care without having the proper diagnosis because it can actually make things worse. Yeah.
Wait, you mentioned that your mom had BPPV. How long has she had that?
She's had that for a while. This last go about was the first time that she actually went to the ENT and had them do the EPLI.
Mm,
I was like, you just need to go to the ENT and have the EPLI done. So they
yeah.
did test her for Meniere's. And obviously the dizziness you experience from BPPV is different than 3PD. So I knew that she didn't have 3PD, but she did get the EPLI, and then she was fine.
Good. Good.
Yeah,
Well, that's good to
she
hear.
said to me, "You have no idea how great it is to not feel dizzy all the time." And I looked at her like,
Thanks,
"Girl, are
Mom.
you out of your mind? Did you just say that to me?"
Oh my goodness. How long have you been dealing with your symptoms? I mean, when did it first start for you?
I've been at it for a year and a half. It started in
Mm.
February of 2022. That was last year, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
It all
goodness.
blends together. Yeah. So 2022. And it took about until May to really get a diagnosis, um, and really kind of start the treatment plan for me, which
Mm.
included an SSRI, and vestibular rehab therapy.
Okay. Were those two the biggest game changers for you, or do you think something else helped?
Yeah,
That was a
absolutely.
big.
Those were the two game changers for me. Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself at the beginning of your vestibular journey or any newbie out there experiencing symptoms?
Yeah, this is a big one. And I try to tell everybody stay off of the social media
Mm,
groups. I think that's one of the biggest things that I wish I had known at the beginning, because I was joining these groups that didn't necessarily fit my diagnosis. And it was so much negativity. And seeing all of this really impacted my mental health.
mm,
And it did not in any capacity help with healing. Now, I do know that there are people that find relief and help from those groups. But for me, it was definitely a negative experience. And once I registered that, I was like, I can't be a part of this right now until I get myself sorted. Because
It's
sometimes
still
people
hard,
just want to
even
go,
once you're better.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I still, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I still, I mentioned this in a video I recently made that I still don't watch content. I haven't watched your series that you made with VeDA because it just triggers a lot of anxiety still, and I'm just
Yeah.
not
Sure.
there yet. I'll
Yeah.
get there, but seeing somebody talk about being in like the very beginning stages in the darkness and the depth of just trying to figure everything out, it really
Mm.
just sets me back emotionally. So
Sure.
I'm very protective about my mental health. Yeah.
That's great. And you have to learn those boundaries. I still watch those and it's my video and I still cry every time. So yeah, I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
Backtracking to those support groups, I want to say when I was at the beginning and I needed to find my people, I got into support groups, but I got into I found the same negativity. So I kept getting out of those groups until I found one particular one called Mummy Seeing Double. It had that, but it was different. They were being supportive and it wasn't just someone going in and dispelling everything that's negative going on in your life. The comments were empowering and it was good. But I'm saying that all to say that what I've learned over the last almost 7 years of dealing with this is if I have a question or a question about my vestibular symptoms or something going on, I go into a particular group and I just go up to the top and type that in because over these years, that has been most likely it's been mentioned. And that way I weed through and I'm not on a constant negative scroll. So that is something that I do recommend if you
Yeah,
need answers.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I also
Yeah.
feel like reaching out to people um that just one on one that have that experience that have been through it, just just the communication, the conversation is a lot more
Mm-hmm.
helpful than going into those spaces and just kind of willy-nilly. You know,
Yeah.
people just want to complain sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I get it, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just need to like blurt it all out and let it all out.
Yeah.
Um, but just because it's their experience that they can't drive or they can't work or, something didn't work for them, it doesn't mean that that's going to be your experience. So
Right.
don't write that off and don't take that off the table for yourself just because it's somebody else's experience. Everybody's
Mm-hmm.
diagnosis is different, everybody's treatment is different, and you have an active hand in your healing process. And I think that that's so important. You can sit and wallow or you can take action. And
Mm-hmm.
that is part of a healing pie, as we refer to it in the community. And that includes things like your mental health, your VRT, supplements, exercise, sleep, all of that stuff is part of that healing pie. And some people don't want to take an active role in that. That's on them, right? But you
No.
can't let that distract you from your progress.
No, no, it's so true. It's so true. And I know that I was stuck in that darkness and until someone, was hard and with me, those great real friends that you have, they sometimes have to play that difficult card. It wasn't until then. And I'm like, what am I doing? I love life. I've got to figure this out. Yes, I have symptoms, but am I going to let this win? No, I'm not. I've got to figure out how to live this life with these symptoms, regardless. I'm going to have crappy days. I know that. And I'm just going to coast through them, feel them, move on. Um, Having a little girl, I'm sure that was motivation too for you. I'm sure at one point.
Oh,
How
yeah,
does
absolutely.
how did she handle these symptoms when they came on with you?
She's amazing.
Yeah.
I explained to her that mommy has dizzy days. Sometimes she has to rest. She's been so great. She's such a little caretaker, which I'm so blessed. But she does have a lot of energy and she likes a lot of connection and time with me.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned that you don't have to always take your kid to the playground, take your kid to the pool, take your kid to Chuck E. Cheese to build that connection. We play Scrabble together. we play the canoodle. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's kind of like a little Tetris puzzle. We do that together. She loves Roblox, and so recently I signed up for a Roblox
Oh my
account, which,
gosh. What
oh,
she Before getting on today, Lila's begging me, "Hey mom, do you think you can set up a Roblox account for yourself today?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness. Okay."
yeah, yeah. It was immediate regret because now she wakes me up at 5 a.m. She's like, "Mom, can we play Roblox?" I'm like, "It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I can't. I'm not playing Roblox right now." But that gives us an opportunity to sit next to each other
Yeah.
and still build connection, build relationship where I
Right.
don't necessarily have to be go, 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 go. So kind
Yeah.
of reconfiguring motherhood, reconfiguring
Yeah.
your whole identity essentially
Right.
from work, motherhood, everything in between.
You've been working full time all this time. Did you have a time when you weren't able to work? And was that a difficult conversation, or did you have a conversation with your position, with your job?
I took leave.
Okay.
I believe it was from February till May of
Mm-hmm.
2022. Um, I believe it was 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I used that time to try and find a diagnosis and sleep because that's essentially what I felt like I was supposed to be doing. I didn't know any better at that point.
Right.
Um, I did communicate it with my team and my employer, but it's hard in the education setting because, you can't really just like hide in the closet, and
Yeah.
in the dark and just kind of chill. So I was lucky that I think I went back for like 2 or 3 weeks and then we had summer break. And
Uh,
that was my time to really just rest and recalibrate and then go back. And last year I started teaching virtually, which has been a game changer for me. So I'm so blessed to have had that opportunity.
that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing that because I know you reached out sometimes when you're just not feeling so great, but you're still able to do what you need to do because you're remote. Yeah.
Yeah. And I communicate with my team.
Mm-hmm.
And if I need to take a day off, I do. And I know a lot of people in this culture, we think like the hustle and grind is, where we need to be and what we need to be doing. But in reality, that's not productive if you're running yourself into the ground. And
Mm-hmm.
mental health is physical health. So if you don't acknowledge that you need that time off and you just keep pushing, you're eventually going to hit a brick wall. So I can openly just message my team and be like, Dizzy day, tapping out. Take the day, crash for 11 hours, come back the next day and feel great.
So, what symptoms are your most debilitating today?
Um, I really struggle with fatigue, and then sometimes my dizziness just gets the better of me. But it's temporary now. It's not daily. It's not
Right.
to the point where I'm laying in bed crying or anything like that. I'm very aware of it, and I'm just like, okay, this
Mm-hmm.
is happening. I just need to rest and recalibrate, and then we're good.
Right. Let
Yeah.
me ask you something. You started that Dizzy Girl on TikTok before you came over to Instagram. Do you think that had any assistance with your healing? Because I know that the more I give back, I mean, I look forward to talking to all the vestibular warriors, and the more I give back, the better I feel. And I think it has been so therapeutic on so many different levels for me.
I think that the most therapeutic part of it for me has been able to document the progress and be able to look back on the videos that I've created and
Mm-hmm.
remember, okay, this was the last time I kind of hit a brick wall, or these are some things that I accomplished.
Yeah.
Going on vacation, going to an off-Broadway show, all of these things, you tend to forget about them when you're having a bad day, but I
Right.
have them all documented. So it's easy for me to just go back and kind of relive those moments and think, okay, this is a moment, this is temporary. We're going to get back here. It's
Right.
just going to take a day or two. So having those moments has really been helpful for me. I
Yeah.
do love when people message me and reach out to me. Um, I also know again that I have to protect my mental health. So if there are days when I
Mm.
have to tap out, I just kind of, take those days off social media and recharge.
Yeah. Yeah, I too love it when people reach out, and I have had great response when I'm not feeling well, and giving that response back to them. They completely get it. So the community, the vestibular community, is amazing. I've never
It
had
truly
a sister or brotherhood like this, and it's we. I talked to Kimberly Warner about this, about having a big reunion someday. But getting us all well on the same weekend or whatever is going to be tough. But it'd be worth a try.
Yeah, you'd have to have the perfect weather, the perfect, like everything would have to align in the stars to get everybody on the same page in the same day. But yeah, that would be amazing. I would love that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it would be great.
cool.
So one thing that I have been struggling with now, and I feel like it's happening because I have spent the last year and a half in what I would say, um, survival mode of just figuring out my diagnosis, unlocking treatments and moving forward in my healing is I've noticed a lot lately that I'm starting to grieve my previous life. And this has been very, very hard for me because you're essentially grieving an identity that isn't you anymore. And understanding that who you were, what you were, where your boundaries were, it's all changed. So, I can't do as much as I could do before. And I've talked to you about this.
Mhm.
I do the exact same amount that I've done before in years past. And then I hit a brick wall and I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. But I'm just relearning how I need to pause and allow myself to not overdo it and grieving all of the changes that I'm going to have to make in my life, whether it's, like I said, parenting, financial, career. So many people, I think when they're diagnosed with a chronic illness, they do grieve that, whether it's something small, like I can't wear high heels anymore. I got to go through my closet and get rid of those, because I'm not trying to break
Yeah,
an ankle,
right.
to the bigger things in life. And I don't think a lot of people consider that or talk about it. I don't know what the answer is to any of that yet because I'm just
No.
starting in that journey. But I do think it's something that we don't discuss enough. And I really want to bring light to that.
Well, I know I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. um, Self-preservation is something that I have learned since becoming ill. And I know that my boundaries before my vestibular symptoms were very loosey-goosey, where I would be more of a people pleaser. I didn't really say no to anyone, where it has its, yeah, I mourn things, yes, because I did do the giving away all my high heels and everything, even though I have one pair now that I'm able to wear. So that's something to look forward to, Christine.
That's awesome.
But no, but it is, you will mourn yourself because the majority of us don't go back to that 100%, but we do get a percentage back. And I think that the boundary setting is huge because we do learn to stand up for ourselves and we do learn to self-advocate, and we find our voice in this craziness. And yeah, I could say a lot more on that, but it's a learning process, and it is. We don't talk about it a lot. Um, I was actually in this journal. The title of this essay I'm working on is called Mourning. Not mourning, but mourning. And it's grieving my previous life, but seeing the blessings that this one has brought me too. So, yeah.
Yeah. There is blessings in this side of things. I think that your priorities shift big
Mm-hmm.
time. The
They do.
things that you really just took for granted, simple, tiny things, become so much more bright. You
Yeah.
know, the sunrise, a day at the beach, a walk outside, the birds chirping. I think you become more aware of all of that,
Yeah.
especially because you are working on your mental health and you have to focus
Hmm.
on all that stuff. But then it becomes normalized within your brain because you realize so fast that without your health, you've got nothing.
That's right.
So, the fancy bags and shoes and cars and all of that stuff, it doesn't amount to a hill of beans if you can't use
No.
any of it or go anywhere.
Right.
So the time that you have with family, the conversations you have with people, they mean more. Everything just means more.
Yeah.
And I'm really blessed to have that experience because I think in today's society, we forget about all of that. We forget about um, how precious all of those moments are.
That's so true. Have you found that your relationships with vestibular warriors are on a deeper level than your relationships prior to your vestibular symptoms? I guess what I'm trying to say is I find that the relationships that I have now are not as superficial as they were prior to my symptoms. I guess because we understand on a deeper level. I don't know.
I almost feel like all of my relationships have become like that,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I don't have time for the superficial.
Right.
Um, you know, the analogy of the spoons, you only have so many to give each day.
Yeah.
Um, and so when you only have a limited amount of spoons, you don't want to give them away to people who use and abuse that time.
Right.
So whether it's vestibular warriors, I have a cousin who I just spent 4 hours on the phone with last week. She is not a vestibular warrior, but she did have a brain surgery that left her with a lot of symptoms that coincide
Mm-hmm.
with mine. And we
Mm-hmm.
actually hadn't talked about it. She had her brain surgery, I think 2 years before I was diagnosed. And so we hadn't really had a chance to talk about it, but we started talking about each of our situation and it all kind of puzzled together. And we were like, oh my gosh, we're feeling the same things. And having
Right.
that opportunity to connect in that way and have
Yeah.
that deeper conversation about like, not everybody understands and, your expectations have changed and how you've adjusted. It's, it's just such a wholesome, and that's not the right word,
It's refreshing, isn't it?
authentic. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
authentic and refreshing conversation. Like you get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's just when you talk to someone who gets it, you have a full body experience. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yep.
And I know when we tried to connect before, when we were videoing and everything went wrong, I was telling you that I finally met one of my vestibular warriors. Do you remember me telling you that? One of
Mm-hmm.
my friends, that she came down from, oh my goodness, I'm having a brain fart, Indiana, or was it Ohio? Anyway, that she came down and I was not early, she was running late. And I went to her place and she was just getting out of the shower and she heard I was there and she ran out in her towel and she hugged me and then she ran back to get dressed. But there was just some kind of kindred spirit there, even though we had never physically met. But we had talked numerous times, like you and I do, on text messaging and Instagram, and it becomes family. We all become family, and we support each other even when we're having bad days. Even though I know most of us should reach out more, but yeah, you have to find
Yeah,
your people.
you do. Yeah,
Well,
that's really important. And finding
mm-hmm,
people that support you and are there to kind of give you that like hoorah, like on the days,
mm-hmm,
when I text you and I'm like, girl, my mom's making me go on this vacation and like I gotta get on a horse
Yep.
and you're like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And
Yeah.
coming from somebody else, I'd be like, you don't understand. But when you say it and you said, don't worry about things that that haven't happened yet, because now you're just worrying
Yeah.
twice.
Yep.
Coming from you, it means something totally different because you get it.
Right.
And it was like once I talked to you about that and I was like, hey, I'm freaking out. I've got a lot of anxiety about this vacation, out of my comfort zone. You were like, you're going to be okay. And I
I
was
did it.
okay. I did it,
I got chills.
I,
I got chills watching you on the horse. And I was like,
oh,
yes, she's
it
there.
was so amazing. It was so amazing. And honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be because,
Mhm.
um, I was relying on somebody else's legs and not my own,
Yep.
if that makes sense. So I was fine. But yeah, after I got home from that vacation, I definitely hit a wall for sure. But, to be
Yeah.
expected. Yeah, because I was
Yeah.
excited a lot and a little bit stressed, and your body doesn't know the difference between good excitement and bad excitement. So either way,
Yeah.
your nervous system is just a little bit ramped up. So when I got home, I needed to rest and kind of crash a couple days, and then I was okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
But I
worth
did
it.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so worth
I
it.
know. I just talked to someone yesterday who is, she's, she's in her 70s, I believe. And she's going to know who I'm talking to. I hope I have her age right. Anyway, she's older and she has a wedding to go to on Saturday, and she knows that she'll be driving back by herself, and she's so nervous about that. But and I talked to her, I'm like, you can't hold it back. You can't hold it back. It's a wedding, a family member's wedding. You've got to be there. Figure out a way. She, before we got on the call, she has a friend that's going to go traveling with her to drive back. So I'm like, yes, it's a
That's so
score,
great.
big win. I love it. You got to
Yeah,
live. These things cannot take you down.
you do.
Yeah.
But I do know that those first steps,
Yeah.
um, I imagine it's kind of like a turtle popping its head out of the shell for the first time, or,
Right.
even a kid taking their first steps. It's very scary. Last summer, I had about a 2.5 hour drive and I did it by myself. And, um, I was very scared. I knew once I get there, I was fine. I was in a safe space.
Right.
But getting there, I was very nervous. But I was fine. And then I did the trip
Yeah.
like 3 or 4 more times that summer, and it was okay. But
Yeah.
that
I'm glad you
first step is
mentioned at the
hard.
beginning. It is because sometimes you don't feel good. Like if she goes this weekend and doesn't feel well, she has to have a backup plan. And she's got her friend now, but it's always having that plan B, and that way you can still try to live this life with these symptoms. And sometimes
And
that means bailing early.
absolutely. And also
Yeah.
knowing that even if it goes a little sideways the first time you try it, it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that it's going to go sideways the next time you try it. And
That's
it's
right.
important to not say, well, I got really dizzy at church, or I got really dizzy at the pool, or whatever it is, I'm never going to do it
Hmm.
again, because
Right.
then you start to close off your world. I am 100% guilty of this. Like, I still am not a huge fan of restaurants. It drives my mother crazy. Like, I'd rather eat a bowl of cereal than go to a restaurant. It's too much for me. But,
Hmm.
you know, trying something and knowing, having reasonable expectations. And if it goes sideways, just know, hey, you can try it again and you might have a completely different response. So it's
It's
okay.
true.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
true.
scary.
It is scary. I went to the roller skating rink with Lila a couple weeks ago for her birthday. I had anxiety before I walked in the door, but I went and got earplugs, and I was just maxed out to everything. And I did it and I was fine. I got a little dizzy, with the lights and everything, but I'm just like, I'm doing this. I'm here. Let's just get through it. And she had a memorable moment. So it was a lot of fun. I did not put skates on, not yet.
I was gonna say, did you
No,
roller skate?
no. That's coming. It's on my to-do list.
That would have been wild.
It's coming. I'm going to do it.
You're going to have to live stream that because I feel like a lot of people are going to want to see it.
Especially if I wipe out. That would be funny.
Honestly, I wouldn't have even put roller skates on before this. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah. No,
Aww.
I mean, the last time I was on any type of skates, I was ice skating. And my ex-fiance actually who played college hockey, he wanted me to skate so bad. And I was like, fine, I will literally do it for you for like 5 minutes. And he had to drag me around the ice crying. So dramatic.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, okay, I did it. Like, let me get off the ice now. I don't ever want to do this again. Because I just was like, if I wipe out and knock out my teeth or break my nose, it's going to cost a fortune. Like, I don't want to be here.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm not putting on skates of any kind.
Oh, goodness. Is there anything else you want to share before we jump into whirlwind questions?
Man, that's a tough one.
How can we support you in the community?
Just following my social medias, I think, and, sharing my content. And yeah, I mean, I love when people send me positive videos or messages or anything like that on social media. Sometimes I feel like they somehow get you like on the perfect day in the perfect moment. Somebody sent me one this morning and it was just so good. And then I shared it out to my story and I was like, that's just first off, it's so nice that somebody even thought about me. And second of all, sometimes it just hits you right in the heart when you need it the most. And so I feel like we need to do that for each other a little bit more because I think
we do.
Just be like, hey, hope you're good type thing.
Absolutely. I am a firm believer if someone crosses your mind to reach out, even if it's just, I'm thinking about you, whether it's a text message, it doesn't matter. They just may need to hear from you that day because you're thinking about them for a reason. So I'm firm believer in that.
My mom and I are very much like that. I think we freak people out when we do it. Even like, hey, I had a dream about you. Just want to check in. People are like, okay, that's weird. But we always try and check in because, you just never know. You really don't.
No. Hey, before we go on to whirlwind questions, I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing with VeDA.
So okay.
Are you guys? Yeah.
No, we're good.
Okay.
So I just filmed content for Balance Awareness Week, which is coming up in September. So I am excited about that. I am currently working with a graphic designer who I'm hoping, we'll see. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get it finished by Balance Awareness Week, but it's something that's really special to me. And I hope that the Vestibular community really likes it too. I feel like we don't have enough fun apparel, fun stickers, that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to get something created for us Vestibular warriors. That's kind of more like cutesy and fun. So we'll see if I can get that out by Balance Awareness, but I'm not sure.
Sweet.
And as far as VeDA sharing their content, I'm still navigating the whole journey. It's still new. And I really enjoy connecting with other people who are ambassador board members as well. Like I said, Amy, the Dizzzy PT, she is as well. And so her and I do TikTok lives together. And they are so great. We have such a great time just kind of educating, talking about our experience. Her side is the VRT side. My side is the patient side. So,
that's great.
That's a really great community to be a part of.
All right. Well, are you ready for whirlwind questions?
Oh my gosh, this part got me so bad last time. And after I got off the call, I was like, you're such a doofus. Like, I don't think you thought those through at all. And I wanted to call you and be like, can we just redo that part? Because
no, they were great. Are you kidding? I like it. That means you were. I love that. You don't have to be prepared for that. Okay.
All right, hit me.
All right. In one word, what has living with a vestibular disorder taught you? You had a pre-test, Christine.
I know, right? Are these the same questions?
Yeah.
Oh, that makes it even better. What was my answer last time? I'll go with patience. It's taught me patience. Patience with myself, patience with other people. This is a
Yeah.
huge one. I made a video about this. I used to get so mad at people that would walk through the grocery store aisles really slow, and then I became that person. So I
Yeah.
have a lot more patience with people around me because you truly don't know, because not all disabilities are visible. And
That's
you don't know
right.
what somebody's going on, what's going on with somebody. So I have a lot more patience with people. And I find myself being like, well, you don't know what they're going through. So I'd say
I do the
patience.
same thing. I do the same thing. My husband's like, why did that guy park? There was not even a parking spot there. And I'm like, well, all the handicap are taken. Maybe he doesn't have a discount. No, maybe something else is going on. Look at me,
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah. It might have been an
okay.
emergency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
I do
don't
the same
know.
thing. Yeah.
Fill in the blank. Vestibular disorders are.
Underrepresented and awful.
Ah,
Is that a
true
fair
that.
answer? That
Yes,
seems
it
really
is.
dramatic.
It's true though.
um, yeah. I mean, finding a doctor to even diagnose you, nobody
Yeah.
knows. You say 3PD and they're like, say what?
Yeah,
Um,
well. Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's a referral to a black hole. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, underrepresented and miserable
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you
most
know
of the
that
time.
VeDA's tagline is making vestibular visible?
Hmm.
I just learned that. I didn't realize that was their tagline just till recently. And it's so true.
I think I knew that because when I filmed the Balance Awareness Week video, um,
Mm,
I think I said that in the video.
yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
it is. And Christine, you feel your symptoms coming on. What's the first thing that you do?
Freak out. That's not a good answer.
It might be the true one though. I feel like, dang it. That
I mean, I can
internal
say
dialogue.
freak out. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I feel like so I feel like when my symptoms would start before, it was like I was to freak out, period. That's what it was.
Yeah, right.
And I would start having panic attacks, and then I started doing positive affirmations and, just I am healing, I am healthy, I am steady, I am stable. So I almost started to ignore the dizziness in
Mm-hmm.
a way to kind of trick my brain into thinking like, you're good, girl, you're fine, just keep going. But I also think
Right.
that that wasn't necessarily the most productive thing because I needed to acknowledge it, but in a positive way that just kind of turned on a little light in my brain to say, you might just need some rest.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't panic about it anymore. I don't freak out. I don't have panic attacks over it anymore. I do still do the positive affirmations. I don't give the dizziness any space in
Mm-hmm.
um, my day-to-day life. It does
Right.
rear its head, and I do sometimes have a little bit of a meltdown. But I
Yeah,
think that
I
that's
do too.
normal.
Do you laugh? Do you laugh at yourself? I catch myself if I. Oh
Girl,
yeah.
girl, did I message you? Yeah, did I tell you the other day about the wheelie chair?
Oh my gosh! Yes, you had yes that day. All you can do is laugh.
It was one of those saddle wheelie chairs at the hair salon. My daughter was getting a haircut. I went to sit, and obviously my vestibular system kind of thought I was in a different place in space and time. And so I tried to get on the chair and I semi missed the chair. The chair rolled away and I knocked an entire display of like product off the thing,
Oh
including
my
my
goodness.
giant metal water bottle, which made so much noise. Um, and the stylist, who's been a friend of mine since I was in high school, she's like, I knew something was wrong when your water bottle fell because I knew you would never drop that water bottle because my water bottles are very important to me. But yeah, it was an absolute cluster. It was very dramatic. it was loud, and I just stood there laughing because what else am I
I
supposed to
know.
do? You know?
I know. Yeah.
I mean, I
Yep.
just looked around and I was like, vestibular disorders, hey girl, like, and I made a joke. I mean, I have to
Yep.
laugh at myself,
Absolutely.
because honestly, I've always been the person to laugh when I fall, and I've always fallen a lot, so this is
Yeah.
nothing new to me. Um, when I was first having symptoms, I went to pick up a toy off the ground that my daughter had left, and I just like crumpled to the floor. It was kind of like a tuck and roll, but like I didn't accomplish it, and it just ended up like a crumple. And my mom was sitting on the couch, and she just like looks over the coffee table, and I'm just on the floor laughing because, I what am I supposed to do? Like I went to pick
Right.
up the toy, and now I'm laying it on the floor in a pile. So yeah, you just gotta laugh at
Yeah.
yourself. There's really no other way to
You
handle
do.
it. You're not
No,
gonna survive if
absolutely.
you can't.
No, you have to. You definitely.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's going to be more stories.
Oh, I mean, I have tons from prior to being diagnosed of me
Oh.
falling everywhere, but so it's nothing new to me.
What is one thing that people usually get wrong about you?
I don't know. I always say people's opinions of me are none of my business.
Hmm.
So um,
I like that
I feel like
response, though.
what? Yeah, I mean
I
it's
like that
true.
response, though.
I just feel like as I've gotten older and my priorities have shifted, I'm just like, oh, your opinion is none of my business.
Right.
I think sometimes people think I have it all together because I have social media presence, and I work full time, and I manage being a single mom. But I don't. Most days I'm an absolute um, brain fog, chaotic mess. If it weren't for my mom, I definitely wouldn't be where I am today. Having a support system like her has been absolutely incredible. And she is such an amazing human being. She's good at pushing me when I need it and loving me, in the times where I just need that as well. So,
That's
yeah, I
awesome.
don't have it all together at all. I am an ADHD, neurospicy, vestibular disordered. Yeah, so I'm a hot mess,
That's
and
okay.
that's
You're in good
okay.
company. You're in good company. What is your favorite book or novel?
Oh my gosh, I blow through these books.
I know it. I should ask, is there one that helped you in your vestibular journey?
Um, yes. I think two books that have helped me the most in my vestibular journey are How the Body Keeps the Score, I believe is how it's called.
Oh, I
Um,
haven't read that one.
that one's a really good one. And I have a book about rewiring your anxious brain, and that has been a really good one too. They are very sciencey. They are very, it's not one of those books where you sit down and you listen to it in a day because it's
Right.
heavy content, but it's
Mm-hmm.
really helpful to know how your brain works, how your nervous system works, how holding trauma and giving that space in your being as a person translates into chronic illness. Um, because once you understand more, knowledge is power. I know that's so cliche, but it really is.
No,
And then
it
you can
is.
learn to kind of work through those and let those things go.
No, I know you read a lot like I do, and
Yeah.
I usually just ask what, people's favorite books are, but I think a lot of us like audiobooks and like reading, so this is good.
Yeah, I blow through audiobooks and the whole Misty Walker series. I found her on TikTok. She's amazing if you like that sort of book. Um, I just finished Little Ghosts. That was a really good one too. I have so many. I try and share them on my pages when I can because
Right.
I don't want to be book talk, but like at the same time, like I secretly
So
just
you
really want to
are.
be a part of book talk because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it
I'm the
is a
same
cool
way.
community. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. What's an activity that completely relaxes you?
I think I really love like just taking a hot bath with Epsom salts after the kiddo is in bed and it's quiet and I
Yeah.
can just exist. Um, I'm not watching a show, I'm not reading, just existing and just letting everything just chill out is so good for my brain.
Hmm.
But I also love to be in the car by myself and just blast the radio, which I know a lot of people would be like, absolutely not. But if it's music that
Right.
I approve,
Mm-hmm.
I'm fine with it. And I just like to, sometimes I just love to drive and just listen to a couple of really good songs that like hit you in the
Yeah.
feels.
Yeah.
Whether it's like Christian worship music or, a good country song that makes you, like ooh, ugly cry in your car, whatever the day whole, whatever you
Right.
need to. I love that too. It's just, there's just such a sense of freedom in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to say that at the beginning, I could not listen to music. Actually, I only started listening to music about 6 to 8 months ago. I couldn't tolerate it with my hyperacusis. So friends out there, if you can't listen to it now, it will come. Time will come and you will just be singing to the top of your lungs, blaring that music. So yeah.
Yeah. And also I
Yeah.
feel like, there are certain types of music that still do not sit well with me if they have a lot of
Mm.
like high treble, screechy
Mm-hmm.
sounds.
Yeah.
Some of the meditation music that I listen to, they have that really weird like hertz level. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is about that because it's like, oh, these are such calming waves. And I'm like, these waves are going to make
Nope.
me, loony. Like, so there are some that just hit in that weird frequency that I cannot tolerate still. But
Right.
yeah, a lot better than I was, that's for sure.
That's good. What's a movie you could watch over and over and never tire of?
The Holiday.
Of course,
I love
The
that movie so
Holiday.
much.
Yeah,
It's my favorite. It's my happy place.
I love
I
that movie
really
too. You
liked.
can never get tired of it.
I recently saw Love Again. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't
It
seen
was
it.
it was a really good, like, feel good. It had some sad moments in it, but it was also really funny. And I was like, you know what? That's like right under the holiday for me.
Yeah.
It's not like a really excitable movie. It's just a really happy plot line that works out well. I mean,
Mm,
I'm sure most people will be like, yeah, it's such like a stereotypical movie, but I find comfort in that. So I feel like The Holiday
sweet.
and Love Again are just like, I'll watch them over and over.
Nice. And our last question is, what are you extremely grateful for today?
My family. I'm so grateful for my family, my mom, my daughter. Without them, like I said, I would not be
Mm.
here with where I am today. Um, I'm so grateful for so many things, honestly. My vestibular rehab therapist. Without her, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be where I am today. The vestibular community,
Yeah.
um, my faith, without that, again, I wouldn't be where I am today. Um, I'm grateful at how far I've come because it was really dark for a while. And I'm happy
Yes.
that I'm able to smile and live again.
Well, I'm happy that you are able to bring a lot of smiles to our faces. You always have me cracking up with your reels and teaching me and pulling me along and trying to get me to try new things. So I'm so
Absolutely. We're
thankful for
here.
you.
And
Yeah.
we're thankful for you because you are such a huge, pivotal person in this vestibular community. I really do
Mm.
believe it wouldn't be what it is today without you because you were the first
Oh.
person to reach out to me. And I think I've told you this. You were like, I'm going to call you. And I remember being like, what do you mean you're going to call me? Like, I'm not used to that up here where we live. Like, nobody calls anybody. And so I was like, she's going to call me. Like, what if she's a murderer? I
She's
watch
gonna
too
have my
much true
number.
crime. You're like, what if she's like tracking my phone? Like, I don't know this lady. And then I think we stayed on the phone for like 2 hours that day. And I was so grateful for that phone call. And so without you building that community and creating the resources that you do and like the book, congratulations on your book.
Oh, thank you. It was
I mean, that's
great. Such a
amazing.
great book.
So happy for you. So I'm extremely grateful for everything you do for us.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Christine. And I will link all her info below.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Christine, for joining me today and sharing your experience living with persistent postural perceptual dizziness. And please keep bringing your informative and funny content to the world. We definitely need it. If you would like to reach out to Christine or myself, please find the information in the show notes. Remember to like, review, and share this episode. If you would like more information on vestibular disorders, please visit the VeDA website at www.vestibular.org. Also, remember that Balance Awareness Week is right around the corner. If there is something you can do to bring awareness to these disorders, do it. Contact a local newspaper, your news channel, and share your story. Do a social media post or reel sharing about Balance Awareness Week. Be certain to tag VeDA, myself, or any other VeDA ambassador out there so we can share your content. We are all in this together, and through social media and sharing with your friends and family, we are working toward making vestibular visible. This is VeDA's tagline, use it today. Well, friends, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to the Meniere's Muse podcast. If you know someone with an inspiring story, I would love to connect with them. Remember to love and be gentle with yourself. Lean on this beautiful community. And lastly, remember that healing is possible. I'll see you soon, warriors.